they said giving your testimony, your personal experience is one of the hardest things to do. This will be the third time that I've had to give it, and it never gets, thank you, it never gets easy. It's hard every time. My name is Lauren Patrick. I am 19 years old. I graduated from Southeast in 2012, and I am a client here at the Women's Enrichment Center. I grew up in a Christian household. My parents taught me the morals, took me to church and everything of how to be a Christian. And my parents were the three little best friends. I told them everything, they told me everything. It's the best that a child can have with her parent. They can tell you, I tell you, that I put myself up on a pedestal in a way that they never had to tell me, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you do this. Don't go out and go to this party. Don't go do this, because I was Little Miss Innocent. I didn't do anything wrong. In high school, I was in the in crowd. I'm a cheerleader. I'm around the sex, drugs, and alcohol that you're put in whenever you're in the popular crowd, and I didn't do any of those things. I hung out with those people. Those are my best friends. I would hear the weekend stories of, oh, we did this, this, and this. You should have been there. But they knew that it wasn't me. I didn't care. I'll be your friend, but I don't want to go do those things that you're doing. And with saying that, I had some boyfriends, but nothing serious. And I met my current boyfriend, Austin, the end of our junior year. And with that, I didn't know how it was to be in an intimate experience and how just to say no. I mean, I know I'm up here telling you that I grew up as a Christian. It's still hard whenever you're in that experience to say no when you've never been in it before. I didn't know how to handle it, and it happened. A year later, in May, we were at my brother's wedding, and Austin had asked me, we were at the reception and we were walking around and everything, and he asked me, he said, have you started your period? I knew whenever it was supposed to be, but I wasn't keeping up with it, and then it came to my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, no I haven't. But I was like, well, maybe I have a couple more days, I'll be fine. But it never came. I remember being at school and I would go to the bathroom just to see if it would come because I was that worried. I mean, here I am, I never did anything wrong, and here I am in this situation that I never imagined myself to be in. Two of my girlfriends at the time were in the same situation, and their periods came. So I'm thinking, why me? God, why am I in this situation after I do all these things right? Why is this happening to me? And I didn't understand it, and I was having a really hard time. And finally, I took my first pregnancy test in June, an at-home pregnancy test. And it was one of the ones where two lines would come up if it's positive, and those two lines came up in just a matter of seconds. I mean, it was just like, boom, Lauren, you knew it. But reading it and knowing that it was positive was so surreal. It was really scary for me. That whole summer, I remember crying at home whenever my parents would be at work and I'm just there by myself. I had Austin to talk to, but he had just received a baseball scholarship to go play somewhere, and we talked about it enough to where I didn't want to keep pressuring him or anything, because I knew that's history. And I knew he was already stressed out about it anyways. And we went to the health department, I think in August, me and Austin and his mom, and I had to go in the back by myself, and the lady told me, "You were for sure pregnant." And she asked me, she was all happy and everything, and she's like, "Is this your first baby?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, are you excited?" And I still remember to this day looking at her, and I was like, I am scared to death. I mean, she didn't know me. She didn't know my situation. She was excited, but I was so scared. And my parents still didn't know. 4.5 months along at this time, and I've been hiding it from them. And that day, I had to go pick my mom up from work. And I remember picking her up, going back to the house, and I was like, I had to pull over at a gas station. And she didn't understand why. And I stopped, and I just started crying, and I was like, I have to tell you something. And I couldn't tell her because I was crying so much. And she just looked at me, and she was like, "You're pregnant." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "It's okay." This whole time, I'm thinking that this is the worst thing I could have ever done. And she just said that it's okay. And then she's like, "You have to tell your dad." And I was so scared. I was like, my dad's going to kill me. He's going to kill my boyfriend. I mean, this is just going to be so awful. And so we went to my house, and I did the same thing. I muted the TV, and I was like, "Look, Dad, I have to tell you something." And I started crying again. He said, "You've been having sex, haven't you?" I said, "Yeah, but that's not it." And he said, "And you're pregnant?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "It's okay." Nobody knows what that means to me because I don't know how to explain this, but I thought that I was a mistake somehow because here I am, little Miss Innocent. I do everything right that somebody could do, and then I'm in this situation. I mean, my parents were shocked, but it was still okay. And they told me, they said, you know, you have choices. They said, you know, there's adoption, you keep your baby, abortion. And then they said, now, if you want to adopt your baby, we will adopt your baby. So there's that right there. They said you can have your baby, you can be a mom. Or they said being Christians, unfortunately, there is abortion. Me and your mother and my dad said we do not agree with that. We're not going to support that. But you were 18 years old, you are now an adult. You have to stand in judgment for your mistakes and for everything that you do. So here I was thinking, well, I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm not thinking there's a baby inside of me. I just wanted to be myself, go to college, let Austin go play baseball, and let us still have our lives without a baby. I mean, we're 18 years old, we're babies ourselves. How are we supposed to raise a baby? And my dad, since I told him, and my mom and Austin's mom, we were like, you know, we're just gonna go get an abortion. And we found a place in Atlanta. And I talked to this lady, and she had told me, she said, you're so far along, you're going to have to come in 2 days, do this procedure, you're going to have to come in next week. And she told me I needed an ultrasound and all these things. And it's becoming so scary to me because I'm about to have to do this next week. And I didn't even want to think about it. And my dad took me to the health department, and he was just trying to figure out where you could get an ultrasound. And they gave him the number to the Women's Enrichment Center. And he didn't say anything to me. He didn't say anything to me, but he knew that they would be Christian-based. And with him not supporting abortion, not thinking that it was right, he didn't want to make that decision for me and say, you know, you don't need to do that. He wanted somebody else to do it. And so we went over there, and I spoke with Miss Karen, and she put in a video for the 3 options. And I'm still thinking that I'm going to have an abortion. And she gave me her testimony about her experience with abortion. And that was a big deal for me, seeing, you know, her emotions and still upset about having one whenever she was my age, that I didn't want to have to go through that. I didn't want to be 20, 30, 40 years down the road still upset for a decision I made whenever I was 18 years old. And we left that day, and I still had that in my mind, you know, I don't want to do that, but I want to be able to not have a baby. I still want Austin to go play baseball, so I think that I still need to get rid of it. And my dad picked me up from work like 2 days later. This was on a Saturday, and we stopped somewhere, and he told me, he said, Lauren, I just have to talk with you. He's like, I know you like the back of my hand, and you're not being mature about this. He's like, do you understand that there is a baby inside of you? You just keep saying that you want to get rid of it. You want to get an abortion. He was like, there is a baby inside of you. And I'm just crying because he was right. I never thought about it like that. I just wanted to go, get it over with, forget about it, because this was a nightmare for me. And I had a ultrasound the next week at the enrichment center, and I'm still a little bit on the abortion side. And I remember seeing my baby in my belly and seeing my dad. He said something like, I told you there was a baby in there, or something like that. And hearing that, seeing my little girl on that screen was crazy. Good crazy, but it was crazy. And I finally understood, yes, there is a baby. I have to be a mom. I mean, there's no turning back after this. And after that, abortion was just out of the window. And whenever I told my boyfriend and my parents, you know, this is what I want to do, I'm not going to that clinic, they said, okay, well, we need to tell everybody now. And everybody in my family, everybody, friends, were okay with it. Just like my parents were. I was afraid that people wouldn't be okay with it and they would be ashamed, and it was the opposite. And I'm so blessed that everybody was fine with it. And after that, I talked to the pastor and the assistant pastor of our church. I talked to the youth pastor's wife at our church, and they were accepting. And my biggest fear was, these people at church are not going to want me to go back. But, I mean, that's just what you think. But they were all accepting, and that makes me love that church even more because of that. And the first time that I was at church, with people knowing, the song came on about being blessed. And everybody in the whole church is standing up, and I can't stand up because I know that I'm blessed. I was blessed with a little girl, but I couldn't stand up because I have thought the nastiest things about wanting an abortion, about being mad at God, everything that you can think of. I mean, I was in the wrong. How can I stand up? And I just started crying, and a lady came over to me. She's sitting right over there, and she hugged me, and just having that shoulder to cry on was the best feeling in the world, and I appreciated that so much. And then another song came on about praying all night, and I went up to the altar, and I just said, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for thinking the way that I did, and I was forgiven right there. And after that, everything was fine with Kinsley. Once I started going to the enrichment center, I took many, many classes, and they've helped me so much. I took classes from car seat safety to how to wash your baby properly, how to give her a bath, things that I didn't know how to wash a baby. I was scared to death. I didn't want to mess her umbilical cord up and all the things like that. And simple things like that helped me out so much. And I could go upstairs and I could shop. And I didn't have to buy diapers or wipes until Kinsley was 6 months old from the baby showers and from going over to the enrichment center. So little things like that they do helped me out so much. And after Kinsley was born, I probably didn't take another class until she was 3 or 4 months old, but I'm taking them now. And I mean, I love going over there. The staff are so nice, and they pray with me. And I mean, it's the best feeling in the world to be able to go to a place where you can talk to them and it's confidential, and you're learning while you're doing all this about your child. I wouldn't have Kinsley probably if it wasn't for the enrichment center. I'm so blessed because of them. Austin, will you stand up with her? That little girl means more to me than anything. And I just want to thank y'all so much for listening to me and allowing me to speak tonight. Thank you.